Mark's mornings always started the same way. The sun was barely up when he woke, careful not to disturb the small, quiet apartment where he lived with his daughter, Lily. He liked the calm of those early hours, the soft light through the window, the faint sound of birds outside, and the gentle breathing of Lily still asleep. Mark was a janitor at the community center in their town. It was not a job many people noticed or talked about, but it was honest work, and it helped him provide for Lily. Every day, Mark cleaned the floors, emptied the trash bins, and made sure the building was safe and welcoming for everyone. The work was simple, and sometimes tiring, but he never complained. What kept him going was knowing that when the day was done, he would see Lily's smiling face. Lily was 8 years old. She was small for her age, with big brown eyes that sparkled with curiosity and wonder. She loved drawing and reading books about faraway places. Most of all, she loved spending time with her dad. Mark and Lily had a quiet life, but it was full of love. On this particular morning, Mark made breakfast while Lily sat at the kitchen table, humming softly to herself. She was putting the finishing touches on a drawing of a butterfly. Mark smiled as he watched her. He knew she had a gentle heart, but sometimes he worried about the world outside their apartment. The world could be harsh, and he wished he could protect her from all the sadness and trouble. After breakfast, Mark packed Lily's small backpack and held her hand as they walked to the bus stop. The street was still calm, and the air was cool with the freshness of morning. Mark looked down at Lily and gave her a warm smile. "Have a good day at school," he said softly. Lily nodded and smiled back. "I will, Daddy." School was just a few blocks away, and Lily liked it there. She had friends and kind teachers, but sometimes, Mark could tell she felt lonely. He didn't say anything. He knew she would talk when she was ready. For now, he just wanted her to know he was there. After dropping Lily off, Mark went to work. The community center was a busy place during the day, with children playing, adults meeting, and many events happening. Mark enjoyed the simple routine of his job. He liked to think of himself as a quiet guardian, making sure the place was clean and safe for everyone. Sometimes, when he swept the floors or cleaned the windows, Mark thought about the future. He dreamed of a better life for Lily, a life where she would not have to struggle, where she could follow her dreams without worry. But for now, he focused on the little things. During his lunch break, Mark sat alone on a bench outside the center. He watched children running and laughing, and he felt a mix of happiness and sadness. He wished he could do more for Lily, but he knew he had to be patient. Life had its way of moving slowly sometimes. When the workday ended, Mark walked to the school to pick up Lily. He liked to see her face light up when she saw him. It was a small moment, but it meant the world. This day was no different. Lily came out of the school gate, her backpack bouncing on her back. She smiled when she saw Mark and ran to him, wrapping her small arms around his waist. "Hi, Daddy," she said. "Hi, sweetheart," Mark replied, lifting her into a warm hug. They walked home slowly, talking about the day. Lily told him about a new story her teacher had read, and Mark listened closely, happy to hear her excitement. But beneath her bright smile, Mark noticed a shadow in Lily's eyes. Something was bothering her, though she tried hard to hide it. When they reached their apartment, Lily went to her room, and Mark sat at the small kitchen table, tired but thinking deeply. He wondered what was troubling her. He knew children sometimes faced challenges he could not always fix. Mark's mind went back to his own childhood. He had lost his wife when Lily was very young. Since then, it was just the two of them. Mark had worked hard to keep their small family together, but he often felt the weight of it alone. That night, after dinner, Mark sat beside Lily on her bed. He pulled out a small bottle of bubble solution he had bought at a market weeks before. Lily loved bubbles, they always made her smile. "Want to blow some bubbles?" he asked gently. Lily nodded, her eyes brightening. Mark dipped the wand into the solution and blew softly. Tiny bubbles floated in the air, catching the light and shining like little stars. Lily reached out to pop them, laughing as the bubbles popped on her fingers. For a moment, the sadness seemed to lift. The bubbles floated, fragile and free, just like Lily's smile. Mark felt a wave of hope. Maybe, no matter how hard life was, these simple moments could bring light to the darkest days. As Lily drifted off to sleep, Mark sat quietly, watching over her. He promised himself that no matter what, he would always be there to catch her if she fell. And in the stillness of that night, the quiet routine of a single dad and his daughter carried on a story of love, strength, and small miracles. The next morning, the sky was gray and heavy with clouds. The air felt thick, like something was about to change. Mark noticed Lily moving slowly as she got ready for school. Her usual bright energy was missing, replaced by quiet and sadness. At breakfast, Lily barely touched her food. Mark tried to smile and keep the mood light, but he could tell something was wrong. "Are you okay, Lily?" he asked gently. She looked up for a moment but quickly looked away. "I'm fine," she said quietly. Mark wanted to believe her, but his heart told him otherwise. He knew kids sometimes kept their feelings hidden because they didn't want to worry their parents. He wished he could reach inside her mind and take away whatever was hurting her. After school, Mark went to pick up Lily like always. When he arrived at the school gate, he saw her sitting alone on a bench. She wasn't playing with the other children, and her head was bowed low. Mark walked closer and sat beside her, careful not to scare her. "Hey, Lily," he said softly. "What's wrong?" Lily's small hands trembled as she wiped her eyes. "Some kids said mean things to me today," she whispered. "They laughed at my drawing and called me names." Mark's heart ached. He had hoped Lily would be safe from cruelty, but the world was not always kind. "I'm sorry they said those things," he said, putting an arm around her. "That wasn't right. You are special, Lily, and your drawings are beautiful." Lily sniffled and looked at him. "But why do they have to be mean? I just wanted to share my picture." Mark nodded slowly. "Sometimes, people say hurtful things because they don't understand. But that doesn't mean you are any less wonderful." Lily leaned into her dad's side. For a moment, she felt safe in his arms. But the sadness didn't leave completely. Mark knew he couldn't fix everything with words alone. Sometimes, what a child needs is comfort, a reminder that someone cares deeply, no matter what. He reached into his pocket and pulled out the small bottle of bubble solution. "Want to blow some bubbles with me?" he asked. Lily's eyes flickered with a tiny spark of hope. She nodded slowly. Mark dipped the wand into the solution and blew gently. Tiny bubbles floated up and around them, shining in the dull light like little floating rainbows. Lily reached out to catch one. It popped softly on her finger. A small smile appeared on her lips. The bubbles seemed to carry away some of the heaviness that weighed on her heart. She laughed softly, the sound light and fragile like the bubbles themselves. Mark smiled too. He remembered the first time he had bought that bottle of bubbles. He hadn't thought much about it then, but now it felt like a small miracle. As the bubbles drifted away, Lily's tears dried, and her shoulders relaxed. Mark felt a quiet hope rise inside him. Maybe these little moments of joy were what could help them face the hard days. Just then, from across the playground, a woman stood watching quietly. Her eyes were fixed on Mark and Lily. She looked familiar, but Mark did not notice her. The woman was Emily, Lily's mother. Emily had been away for many months, caught up in her busy life far from home. She had not seen Lily since before her trip, and she felt a deep ache in her heart when she saw her daughter sitting alone, sad and silent. Emily had heard about the struggles Lily faced at school but had been too busy to come back. Now, watching Mark's kindness and the way Lily's face slowly brightened with bubbles, something inside Emily shifted. She felt a strong mix of regret and hope. Emily wanted to be part of her daughter's life again. She wanted to protect her, to hold her, and to help heal the sadness that had grown during her absence. But for now, she stayed hidden, unsure of how to approach the two who had been caring for Lily while she was away. Back on the bench, Mark and Lily sat quietly as the last bubbles disappeared into the sky. Lily looked up at her dad, her eyes full of trust. "Thank you, Daddy," she whispered. Mark smiled softly and brushed a stray hair from her face. "Always, Lily. I'll always be here for you." In that moment, the storm inside Lily's heart began to calm. It did not disappear completely, but it became lighter, a weight shared and eased by love. Mark knew there would be other hard days ahead, but he also knew that as long as they faced them together, they could find strength. As they stood to leave, Lily took Mark's hand tightly. They walked home slowly, the gray clouds above still heavy, but a small light shining between them. Sometimes, healing began with a bubble. The afternoon sun was soft as it began to dip toward the horizon. The sky was painted in colors of orange and pink, a quiet reminder that even the hardest days could end with beauty. Mark and Lily were still sitting on the park bench near the community center. The bubbles Mark had blown earlier were long gone, but something in the air felt different now, lighter, warmer. Lily watched the sky, her fingers still sticky from the bubble solution. She felt better than before, but the sadness had not completely left. Mark knew that too. Sometimes, healing was slow, like the soft breeze that moved gently through the trees. Mark looked at Lily and smiled. "Want to try blowing some bubbles yourself?" he asked. Lily's eyes lit up. She had never blown bubbles before, but the idea sounded fun. Mark handed her the small wand and helped her dip it into the bottle. She took a deep breath and blew gently. To her surprise, a perfect bubble floated up, catching the sunlight and sparkling like a tiny rainbow. Lily giggled in delight. "Look, Daddy. I did it," she said, her voice full of joy. Mark laughed softly. "You did great. Keep trying." Lily blew again and again. Some bubbles were big, some small, and some popped too soon, but she didn't mind. She was having fun. As the bubbles drifted through the air, other children in the park began to notice. A few came closer, curious about the colorful bubbles floating around. One little boy with curly hair ran over. "Can I try too?" he asked shyly. Lily smiled and nodded. Mark handed the bottle to the boy, and soon the two children were laughing and chasing the bubbles together. Mark watched quietly, feeling a warmth spread inside him. In that moment, the park was full of simple happiness, children playing, parents smiling, and bubbles dancing in the air. But then, a soft voice interrupted the peaceful scene. "Excuse me," said a woman's voice behind Mark. Mark turned around and saw a woman standing nearby. She looked nervous but kind. She was wearing a simple dress and held a small bag in her hand. Mark did not recognize her at first. The woman took a deep breath. "I'm sorry to bother you," she said softly. "I just wanted to say, thank you." Mark looked at her, curious. "Thank you? For what?" "For being here for Lily," the woman said, her eyes full of emotion. "I'm Emily, Lily's mother." Mark's eyes widened. He had heard the name Emily before but never met her. He had cared for Lily as best as he could, but he didn't know how to react now. Emily took a step closer. "I've been away for a long time," she continued. "Working far from home. I didn't realize how much I was missing. Seeing you with Lily the way you care for her, it means more than I can say." Mark felt a mix of surprise and caution. "I've done what any father would do," he said quietly. "I just want Lily to be happy and safe." Emily smiled, tears glistening in her eyes. "That's exactly what every mother wants too." Lily, who had been chasing bubbles with the other children, ran over and stopped beside Mark. She looked at Emily with wide eyes. "Mom," she whispered, unsure. Emily knelt down and opened her arms. "Yes, sweetheart. It's me." Lily hesitated for a moment, then slowly stepped into her mother's embrace. The three of them stood together, a small family beginning to find its way back to each other. Mark watched, feeling a strange but hopeful warmth. He didn't know what the future held, but he could see that love was growing between them. The bubbles floated around them, fragile and beautiful like the new connections being formed. As the sun set, Emily thanked Mark again. "I want to be part of Lily's life," she said firmly. "If you will let me." Mark nodded. "I want that too. For Lily's sake." The three of them walked home together, the evening air cool and fresh. Lily held both her father's and mother's hands, feeling the strength of their love surround her. Mark looked at Emily and smiled softly. "This is a new beginning," he said. Emily nodded, her eyes shining with hope. "Yes, it is." And in that quiet moment, under the glowing sky, a single bubble floated up into the air, catching the last light of day, a simple reminder that sometimes, the smallest things can bring the greatest magic. The next day, the sun was shining bright, but the air held a quiet stillness. Mark was at work in the community center, sweeping the floors and wiping down tables as usual. The sounds of children laughing and playing echoed through the halls. It was a busy place, full of energy, but Mark's thoughts were with Lily and the woman he had met the day before. Emily. The name still felt new and strange in his mind, but also full of promise. Mark didn't know what to expect next, but he hoped that this was the start of something good, not just for Lily, but for all of them. Meanwhile, across the room, near the big windows, Emily stood quietly. She had come to the community center that morning, unsure of what she would say or do. She watched as Mark worked, his gentle way with the children, and the small smile he always seemed to carry. Emily thought about her daughter, Lily. The little girl who had grown so much while she was away. She felt a deep ache in her heart for all the moments she had missed. The community center was more than just a building now. To Emily, it was a place of hope, a place where her family might start to heal. As she watched Mark blow bubbles for a group of children gathered around him, Emily felt something she had not felt in a long time: peace. The bubbles floated through the air, catching the light and sparkling like tiny stars. The children reached out, laughing as the bubbles popped on their fingers. Emily's eyes softened as she saw Lily's face among them, a face full of joy and wonder. For a moment, Emily forgot about the busy world outside. All that mattered was the happiness in her daughter's eyes. Mark noticed Emily standing there and walked over to her. "Emily," he said gently, "I'm glad you came." Emily nodded, smiling. "Thank you for everything you do for Lily. I can see how much she trusts you." Mark shrugged, feeling a bit unsure. "I just want her to feel safe. That's all any parent wants, right?" Emily's smile grew. "Yes, it is." The two of them stood quietly for a moment, watching the children play. Then Emily said, "I know I haven't been there for Lily as much as I should have been. I want to change that." Mark looked at her carefully. "It's never too late," he said. Emily sighed, a mixture of relief and hope washing over her. "I hope Lily can forgive me." Just then, Lily ran over, her eyes bright. She stopped in front of her mother and looked up. "Mom, can we go to the park later? I want to show you my favorite place." Emily knelt down and hugged her tightly. "I'd like that very much." Mark smiled, watching them. He felt a quiet happiness he hadn't known in a long time. For so long, he had carried the weight of being both mother and father to Lily. Now, maybe they could share the load. As the day went on, Emily stayed at the community center, talking quietly with Mark and watching Lily play. It was the first time in many months that she felt connected to her daughter's world. She noticed the small things, the way Lily's eyes lit up when she drew pictures, the way she loved to chase bubbles, and how she trusted Mark completely. Emily realized that love wasn't about money or success. It was about presence, kindness, and care. These were the things she had missed the most. Before leaving, Emily turned to Mark. "Thank you for showing me what family really means," she said softly. Mark nodded. "We're all learning, Emily. Together." Outside the community center, the sun began to set, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The children waved goodbye as they left, bubbles still sparkling in the evening light. Mark, Emily, and Lily walked home together, their steps light and hopeful. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, it felt full of promise. As they reached their apartment, Lily stopped and looked up at the sky. "Daddy, look," she said, pointing. A single bubble floated high above them, shining like a small star. Mark smiled and took her hand. "Sometimes, the smallest things remind us that hope is always near." Emily watched them, her heart full. The journey ahead would not be easy, but in that moment, surrounded by love and bubbles, anything felt possible. The following week, the air was fresh with the soft scent of spring. Mark and Lily had fallen into a gentle new rhythm. Emily was visiting more often, slowly becoming part of their daily lives. But none of them wanted to rush anything. Healing, they all knew, took time. One Saturday morning, the community center held a small event, a family day filled with games, music, and laughter. Mark had been asked to help organize the cleanup afterward. Lily was excited to spend the day with both her parents, though the word parents still felt new and strange to her. Emily watched Lily's happy face as she ran around with other children. The sound of her laughter made Emily's heart ache with a mix of joy and sorrow. She wished she could make up for lost time, but she knew it was the little things that mattered. Mark, busy setting up tables, noticed Emily standing quietly near the entrance. He walked over and smiled. "Ready for the day?" he asked. Emily nodded. "I want to make this day special for Lily." Mark's eyes softened. "Me too." As families arrived, the community center filled with warmth and chatter. Children played games, families shared food, and strangers became friends. Mark found himself watching Lily closely. She was more open than before, laughing and joining in the fun. Near the face painting table, a little girl was shyly watching the others. Her eyes were sad, and she seemed lonely. Lily noticed her too. Without hesitation, Lily walked over to the girl and smiled. "Do you want to play with me?" she asked gently. The girl nodded shyly, and soon the two were running around, chasing bubbles and giggling. Mark felt a swell of pride. Lily's kindness was a light in the world. Emily smiled as she watched the two children. "She has your heart," she said softly to Mark. Mark looked at her and nodded. "She has yours, too." As the afternoon went on, Mark helped with the cleanup. He was sweeping the floor when a tall man approached him. "Excuse me," the man said politely. "Are you Mark?" Mark looked up, surprised. "Yes, I am." The man smiled warmly. "My name is Mr. Singh. I'm one of the board members of this community center. I've heard a lot about you." Mark felt a mixture of curiosity and nervousness. "Really?" Mr. Singh nodded. "Yes. You've been doing wonderful work here. The way you care for the children, especially Lily, has not gone unnoticed." Mark blinked in surprise. He had never expected anyone to say such things. "Thank you," he said quietly. Mr. Singh continued, "We want to support you and your family. If there's anything you need, resources, programs, or anything else, please let us know." Mark felt his throat tighten. For the first time, he felt recognized not just as a janitor, but as a father and a person who mattered. "Thank you," Mark said again. "That means a lot." Meanwhile, Emily was talking to a few other parents. She shared stories about her time away and listened as others spoke about their own struggles. It was a place of understanding and kindness. As the event began to wind down, Lily came running to Mark and Emily, holding a handful of bubbles. "Look," she said, blowing gently. The bubbles floated in the air, catching the golden light. They shimmered and danced, fragile and beautiful. Mark knelt down beside her. "You're getting really good at that." Lily beamed. "I want to learn more." Emily reached out and took Lily's hand. "We will learn together," she said. Mark looked at both of them and felt hope filling his heart. It was not just about blowing bubbles or cleaning floors. It was about building a family that could face anything as long as they were together. That night, after Lily was asleep, Mark sat by the window, thinking about the day. He thought about the chance meeting with Mr. Singh and the kindness he had seen all around. More than anything, he thought about the future. He whispered softly to himself, "We're going to be okay." And somewhere in the quiet night, a single bubble floated past the window, shining faintly in the moonlight, a small sign of new beginnings and endless possibilities. The days after the community center event passed with a quiet hope that gently settled over Mark, Emily, and Lily. It was as if the world had opened just a little more for them, inviting warmth and possibility. Mark continued his work as a janitor, but now with a new sense of purpose. The small kindness he had always shown Lily and the other children was beginning to be seen by others. Mr. Singh's offer to help stayed in Mark's mind, and one afternoon, Mark finally found the courage to visit the community center's office. Emily was there too, helping with some paperwork. When Mark walked in, she looked up and smiled warmly. "I'm glad you're here," she said. Mark smiled back. "I want to see what kind of support they can give us. Maybe things can be easier for Lily and for me." Together, they met with Mr. Singh. He spoke kindly about programs for children, support for families, and even educational classes for parents. Mark and Emily listened closely, feeling hope grow with every word. "We want to help you build a strong home," Mr. Singh said. "You don't have to do this alone." Emily reached out and took Mark's hand. "Thank you," she whispered. The following week, Mark and Emily took Lily to one of the community center's art classes. Lily's eyes sparkled as she sat at a small table covered in paints and paper. She began to paint happily, her small hands moving with joy. Mark watched her and smiled. Emily stood beside him, her heart full. For the first time in a long while, the family was together learning, growing, and healing. One afternoon, as Lily painted, Mark noticed her pause and looked down at her picture. It was a colorful drawing of a big tree with bubbles floating around it. "Lily," Mark said softly, "this is beautiful. What made you draw this?" Lily looked up, her eyes bright. "It's our family tree, Daddy. The bubbles are the happiness we share." Mark felt tears rise in his eyes. "That's a wonderful way to see it." Emily smiled, her voice gentle. "We're growing stronger every day." Life was not perfect. There were moments of doubt and fear, especially when old worries crept in. Sometimes, Lily would ask questions about why her mother was away for so long or why her family was different from others. Mark and Emily answered with honesty and love, reminding Lily that love was the most important thing. One evening, after dinner, Emily sat with Mark in the small living room. They spoke quietly about their hopes for Lily's future. "I want her to know she is loved," Emily said, her voice soft but firm. "No matter what." Mark nodded. "She already knows that, because of you and because of all we're doing together." Emily looked out the window and saw the stars beginning to shine. "It's like those bubbles," she said. "Fragile, but full of light." Mark smiled. "Yes. And just like bubbles, we have to protect our happiness carefully." Days turned into weeks, and with each passing day, the family grew closer. Emily was becoming more involved in Lily's school life, meeting teachers and helping with homework. Mark still worked his janitor job but now felt the community's support lifting him. One afternoon, as Mark finished his cleaning, a small girl came up to him and handed him a drawing. It was of a janitor blowing bubbles, with happy children all around. Mark looked at the drawing and smiled. The simple gift was a reminder that small acts of kindness could change lives. Later, at home, Lily showed the drawing to Emily and Mark. "This is for Daddy," she said proudly. Emily wrapped her arms around Lily and Mark. "We have so much to be thankful for." Mark looked at his family and felt deep gratitude. They had faced hard times, but love and hope had brought them through. Outside the window, a gentle breeze moved the trees. The world was quiet, but full of promise. Mark knew the journey was far from over, but together, they were ready to face whatever came next. And in the soft evening light, bubbles once again floated gently into the sky, symbols of a family healing, growing, and filled with endless hope. The sun rose slowly over the city, casting warm light through the windows of the small apartment where Mark, Lily, and Emily lived. The gentle morning quiet was filled with a sense of calm and hope. Today was a special day for the little family. It was Lily's birthday. Mark and Emily had been planning a small celebration all week. Nothing big or fancy, just a gathering at the community center with some of Lily's new friends and neighbors. For Lily, it was the perfect way to celebrate surrounded by laughter and kindness. Lily woke up early, her eyes bright with excitement. She jumped out of bed and ran to Mark and Emily, who were already smiling at her. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," Emily said, hugging her tight. Mark handed Lily a small box wrapped in colorful paper. "Open it," he said. Lily tore the wrapping carefully. Inside was a small bubble wand, just like the one Mark had used when they first met in the park. Her face lit up. "This is for blowing bubbles," Mark explained. "To remind you that no matter what, happiness is always close." Lily smiled and hugged them both. "Thank you, Daddy." "Thank you, Mommy." The day was filled with simple joys. At the community center, children played games, parents shared stories, and the air was full of music and laughter. Mark and Emily watched Lily carefully, seeing her smile grow wider with each passing moment. She was surrounded by friends, her heart full. As the sun began to set, Mark stood beside Emily and said quietly, "Look at how far we've come." Emily nodded, her eyes shining. "We've built something real, a family that loves and supports each other." Lily ran up to them, holding the bubble wand. She blew gently, sending bubbles floating through the air. "Look," she said, her voice full of wonder. "The bubbles are dancing." Mark and Emily watched the bubbles rise and sparkle in the fading light. They were fragile but beautiful, just like the journey they had traveled together. Suddenly, one of the bubbles caught a soft breeze and floated high, drifting toward the city skyline. Emily whispered, "That bubble carries our hopes." Mark smiled. "And it will keep carrying them, as long as we keep believing." Later that evening, after Lily was asleep, Mark and Emily sat together on the small balcony of their apartment. The city lights twinkled below, and the stars shone above. Emily reached out and took Mark's hand. "Thank you for everything," she said softly. "For being there when I couldn't, for loving Lily, for giving us a chance." Mark looked into her eyes. "We did this together. We still have a long way to go, but we're not alone anymore." Emily nodded, feeling a deep peace she hadn't felt in a long time. Mark looked up at the stars and thought about all the moments that had brought them here: the bubbles in the park, the kindness of strangers, the strength of a little girl. "Tomorrow is a new day," he said quietly. "And we'll face it together." Emily smiled and leaned her head on his shoulder. "Together," she agreed. As the night settled around them, the city quiet and calm, a soft breeze blew past, carrying with it the memory of bubbles, fragile, beautiful, and full of hope. And in that moment, a new beginning was born.